Welcome, everyone. This is Kimberly from Petals Bloom, and this is a YouTube channel designed to help single Christian women thrive in their singleness as well as prepare for marriage because you just can't be prepared for marriage like 2 months before getting married. It takes months, it could take years of really positioning yourself so that when you do get married, you can thrive in that season of life. So that is why I started the blog. Well, I started it because I was single for a very long time and my friends thought that I navigated singleness well. And when I was thinking about starting a YouTube channel, they suggested that I do one focused on helping single women navigate this season of singleness, which can be it's an awesome opportunity, but it also can be um, trying because if you have a desire to get married and it's not happening, then it can cause you some stress, which it did cause me some stress from time to time, should be known. So, I am Kimberly Garth. I started Petals Bloom, the blog, which you can visit. I have over 130 articles on that blog, www.petalsbloom.com. And of course, the YouTube channel, Petals Bloom on Christian Relationships. And you can follow me on, well, I think I'm on Twitter, Threads, but the ones that are more active would be Facebook and Instagram. I'm not on TikTok as yet. I did plan on joining TikTok, but somehow I was not admitted because maybe they didn't recognize my petalsbloom.com. So I will start again sometime because I know it's an important place to be because there are a lot of it's just a great influence. And I'm only going to go on there because I think my content might be important for a younger audience. And well, I know all different ages are on TikTok, but a lot of more young people I think are on TikTok for definitely than on Facebook. So I'm looking forward to that. And you can see my finger is here because in my country today we have general elections, and I voted because I think it's very very important to make your choice and have your say in who you will allow to govern you. Of course, your little vote will not swing the entire thing, but we all have a responsibility, and persons paid a high price so that we can vote. So, therefore, I will take the opportunity to um, to vote every single time. I think since for every elections, except when I was living in Jamaica, I have voted in the general elections and the local government elections, local elections. So I hope for those who are from my country as well that you also voted today. You exercised your right to vote. Yes. So I think this is a critical time for my country because a general election is just it affects your life regardless of who wins. I mean, if it changes, these are major. These decisions are major, and I take them very seriously. And what has happened today or over the last week? Well, today I was looking at my analytics on YouTube, and I was so surprised to discover that my viewership are more men than women. I was like, a lot more men, like double the viewership are men than women. So is either I'm doing something very wrong or doing something very right. So I have to evaluate like what am I going to do moving forward. Now, so the guys who are listening, thank you. I appreciate your views, and I do not take your views for granted. I'm really really grateful for those who are subscribers. Thank you. And so I'm thinking maybe I should have a coaching program for men. But you guys, on a serious note though, I feel like if you're a single guy and you think that, you have qualities that will make that are important, got qualities that are um, important in a marriage, and that you are a man who loves God and seeking after Him, you can write me at kimberly@petalsbloom.com and let me know that, maybe you're interested in being matched with someone who's going through one of my courses. Because I was thinking, like, no, I've been thinking this for a while, that maybe I should offer some type of matchmaking service to my Petals Bloom, since I help single Christian women to really grow in the areas that will help them to be awesome wives, and who might have a little difficulty. Some of them have no difficulty whatsoever. Not everybody's having a difficulty meeting someone. I have some difficulties, but some of the women that I know, they have no difficulties whatsoever. And yeah, so I was thinking that I can probably connect some of you to some of my wonderful women, especially those who go through the program, the coaching program, because then, of course, I know them better. And I would have, you know, real, they would have invested in their journey. I would have invested in them, and I probably would know and vouch for the character at the end of the program. Yes, I'm thinking about that. So I have my Irresistible Godly Woman coaching program, which will begin next no this Wednesday. This will be informal getting to know you time, and then the following Wednesday, I am going to start the Made for Love, followed by then 1 week break, and followed by Understanding Adam, followed by Blossoming Beauty Blueprint, then my course on winning a sexual purity, then being a domestic queen, and finally, I'm going to talk about financial peace, which is important for financial stress could really damage a marriage. So I want you all to be in a good space of being able to take care of your debts. So going back to the guys. So the guys watching this program, if you are interested in possibly connecting you with one of my lovely ladies, please write me, Kimberly@petalsbloom.com, and say, Kimberly, I am interested. And of course, I might have to have some vetting. And the vetting will be, if I know you personally, that's different. But if I are a total stranger, then you have to bring the men in, like my husband. And thankfully, I know a lot of good, solid Christian men who are married and who are single. Yeah, because of course I have to introduce them to, men who will treat them well and who I can vouch for the character. So we'll see where it goes. You just never, never, never know what might be doing. Because one person had told me, it would be good to have one of my courses with men and women so that they can meet. Because the problem is not only women not ha- having difficulties meeting guys. I think from what I hear, men also are having trouble meeting good women as well. So imagine if I know some good women, and then you are a wonderful good man. Maybe God can use my husband and I to make that connection. Woo! I think this sounding really exciting, because I think these dating sites is a hit and miss, and you're just risking a whole lot of people who don't you don't even know. It can work. I'm not against online dating, but I think the better thing would be if people know one another and they know both characters to an extent, and they can make the connection. I think that has been the model for many, many, many years. History has shown that this has been the model. Communities, um, people, relatives connecting other relatives, etc. So maybe we should return to something like that and pop the balloon. That is no place to find a spouse. I know lots of people are fans, but I think it's more entertainment than anything else, because, woo, I mean, I am just shocked when you can see, like, when the women are the ones choosing. Sometimes a good man is there, and the woman will say, "Well, I don't like how I feel. I don't get, I don't get the vibe that he is the one for me, or I don't feel it, you know. And he said, and they say like, you're a good catch. I love how you look. I love how you put together yourself. But I'm just not feeling it. You can't go by feelings alone. I mean, the reasons why so many of those guys are rejected are just vain and shallow and downright foolish. And I can foresee some of those women will remain single or they will choose men who are not good for them. And that's a sad state of reality. So I'm all for entertainment, but I don't think that's the best way of finding a spouse. All right. Although, I mean, people could really hook up, but I don't know if they're able to make a proper decision by just that initial question and answer. And women in particular, and the men too, having like ridiculously unrealistic expectations of the opposite sex. So that's my take on Pop the Balloon. It's good for entertainment, but I don't think it's good for finding a spouse. And I think maybe even online sites might be a little better than that because you can have this long interview process, at least in eHarmony, and that can probably get you a little further in choosing someone who is a better fit for you than just a game show. Well, something like a game show. Alrighty, so today is a Q&A, and I am going to start. For those who are here, you can say hi. I would love to see who is online at this point in time. And for those who will join later, welcome, welcome in advance when you get here, when you view it. So the first question is from Crystal, and she asked, how do you balance wanting to be married and not getting desperate? Okay, so let me just settle this once and for all, which I probably say it enough times. There's nothing wrong with having a desire for marriage. That is totally okay. And don't let anyone make you feel bad, guilty, or ashamed for your desire, your pure desire, your God given desire, your natural desire to be married. There's nothing wrong with that. Because from the beginning, that was God's covenant that He created. Okay, He established marriage between a man and a woman. All right. On the other end, though, um, you need to also not put marriage as an idol. So when you become desperate for marriage, it can move from being a natural God given desire to an idol. And as humans, it is very easy for us to create an idol out of anything and from anything or anyone. So you have to be very careful with that. And remember the first commandment that God gave. He said, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." And it's a serious situation when we make anything or anyone an idol in our lives, because an idol could never satisfy. And secondly, an idol is a very, very poor master. It will destroy you. Okay. So from someone, I have had a season of desperation, and it was not pretty at all. And because of that season, I could just, I'm going to share with you some of the lessons that I have learned in that season. But it was a very joy less season. It just occupied so much of my time and my emotions, and it's, I mean, I just did some foolish things as a result of that season of being desperate. So I wrote down some points on why this is a dangerous place to be when you end up making marriage an idol, when you become so desperate that you just lose all common sense. Number one, God is dethroned, and marriage and yourself becomes the gods of your life. You enthrone that marriage idol. And then what happens is we lose our confidence in God who can satisfy us, because God is the only one who can. And there is no marriage in heaven. So guess what? The Lord has to satisfy us. So from now, He wants the opportunity to fill the void in our lives that only He alone can fill. And the second thing is when we become desperate, we can become like Sarah in the Bible. Because God had given Abraham and Sarah, well, Abraham in particular, that he gave the promise that he would bless him with a child. And out of the world, and from that child, the world would be blessed. But Sarah got a bit impatient and she tried to help God out by giving Haggai to Abraham so that he can have a child with her. And that's a whole situation right there. And we are feeling the effects of that from now. But God, in His graciousness, still allowed them to have a child. So let's not. So when you become desperate, you could be very, very tempted to take matters in your own hands, either by you're choosing someone who maybe in the past wasn't good for you, and for some reason, because you're so desperate, you decide to allow this person to be in your life again, and because you have the state of desperation. Or I know of single women who have married an unbeliever because they became desperate for marriage and that guy was interested in them and they wanted it so badly they were willing to disobey God and reject God's word of being unequally yoked with unbelievers and decided to get married to someone else. Or another thing single Christian women are doing now is having a child out of wedlock because they want that desire for family so badly that they choose to go outside of God's will and put themselves in a place where that God didn't meant for them. They come out of God's order. And if you want to adopt a child as a single woman, that's up to you. But actually, parenting, like giving birth to a child and either be having sex with someone to have a child or using the other means, um, that is just putting yourself in and the child at a disadvantage in life because a child needs a father and a mother. Okay. Another thing is when you become desperate for marriage, you lose the ability to discern if you yourself are ready for marriage. So because God maybe you're not married right now. One possible reason is that maybe you're not ready. You are not ready for marriage as yet. And if you become desperate to the point of taking matters into your own hands and doing what is outside of God's will, you can put yourself in a position, in a place where you are totally unprepared for. The third, or that's probably the third reason. Fourth reason is you will lose your ability to determine if a guy is really a good fit for you. When you come desperate, your judgment is clouded, and you're not able to discern a man's compatibility for you. So desperate women generally make very, very, very poor relationship choices. So being in a state of desperation is not the time for deciding if you should marry a particular man or not, or if you should marry at all. This is the time to just chill. Another reason is a desperate woman compromises her godly values to get a man, or even she might lose her self respect. So I remember in my season of desperation, I won't tell you what I did, but in my coaching group, I probably might mention it. I did something like, remember one particular thing I did, and I was like, oh my goodness, how in the world did I end up stooping so low that I ended up doing that for a guy? And yeah, it is very shameful. But that happens when you become desperate. You lose your sense of self, you lose your worth, you you do things that if you in your right mind that you would never, never, never do. Okay? So the key is to not get desperate. And if you are, you can come up from that because I was restored, thank the Lord, for my desperation. And then things started to go much better in my love life. So you have to understand as a single woman, and even those who are married, that your ultimate satisfaction lies in your relationship with God, and no other human being can satisfy you like God. No other human being can replace your relationship with God. And it's not your ultimate goal in life is not getting married and is not having children. So some of you might have children or may have difficulty having children for whatever reason. Maybe you might get married much later in life. But you could be like Sarah and you could be Elizabeth in the Bible. That could happen. But just in case that you don't have a child, it does not mean that you are less of a woman, that you are less valuable, that your purpose is less. It is not. Your identity is firmly fixed and secure in the love of God, and your identity is in Christ. So it doesn't matter if you get married, if you get married or not, if you have children or not, you are a valuable woman of God. And I want you to remember that. Okay. So please don't be so desperate that you end up marrying the wrong person, or compromising your values, sleeping with a man that you shouldn't be sleeping with, and or having children out of wedlock because you're so desperate for that security, that status that society gives us. So when you need to come to the point where you're satisfied first and foremost in God, with God, by God. God is your everything. And then you will actually be in a healthier position to get married. So if you are becoming desperate, you're already in the state of desperation, confess it to God and ask Him to help you to place marriage in its rightful place. Okay? You throw in that idol and ensure, repent and, recommit your life to Christ, that He is the Lord and He is more than enough for you. Okay? So that is my answer to that question. How do I balance wanting to get married and not getting desperate? So you need to just take some time to evaluate yourself. Are you in a state of desperation? Are you heading towards a state of desperation? And what can you do if you are in that stage right now, or state? All right. And I would recommend that if you are in that season, or that state of mind of desperation, that you need to just take some time out of not pursuing any relationship, maybe even give your self a break from any romantic literature, any romantic movies, and just give yourself a break to just not be studying relationships for a season of time, and pray about it, so that and refocus on your walk with the Lord, because you need to be at a place where there's only one God in your life, and that is God. That is Jesus. That is God Himself. Okay. So I hope that was helpful. So my recommendation is um, continue, give this marriage idol over to God, but sincerely pray. You want to be able to prepare for marriage, get yourself in a right place, but you also don't want to become um, marriage become an idol. So pray about it. Pray about getting married if you're in a healthy state. Practically prepare for marriage, but always choose to be faithful to God above all else. Okay? That He is the one who is your primary priority. All right? So that is my answer to balancing wanting to get married and not becoming desperate. Pray about marriage, your desire for marriage. Practically prepare for marriage, but always choose to be faithful to God above all else. The second question is from Samantha. So she asked the question: does a woman's dress code play an important part in her life? As a single person, she's asked. This was the rest of her comment. She said, does one dress code play an important part in their life? Now I know that we dress a particular way for church and for outings, etc. But if you wear an off-the-shoulder dress or open back dress, is this acceptable? I had struggled with this a lot because I wasn't even sure, though I saw a lot of believers doing it. I didn't want to follow unless I knew in my heart it was right. From what Samantha says, I'm guessing her greater concern is modesty as a Christian woman. So, I mean, maybe I'm considered modest by, I guess, most people in my life. Um, but I wasn't always there. I remember when I was growing up as a teenager, I would actually wear a very short skirt to church. And So I think I was in a rebellious state. Like when I go to church, when I went to church at that time, I would not even sing the songs that were being sung in church. I was like so rebellious, um, deep within, and I don't know why, but I was. And I would dress in these short skirts. And for me, it's like, God looks at your heart, not your garments. And no one should judge me or I just really didn't care what others would wanted to say about me or to me. I just didn't care. I just did my own thing. And I remember but as I grew my walk with the Lord, I hopefully I was maturing, and my views on what I wore began to change. And with that, I began to change on what I wore, and what I currently wear. Um, I seek to glorify God through it. And I remember another time when I was a teenager, I was going to a school, like a school fair or bazaar, and I I went down. I was well dressed, I think. I thought. I had on I think it was a gray tights. I think it was I think a pink vest that was just barely past my waist. And because the vest was kind of like, could have showed my bra, I think I had like a tube top in it to just at least cover the bra part from under my arms. And then when I went downstairs, my father was watching TV and he looked up and he said, "You're not going anywhere looking like that." Well, of course, as a teenager, I was not pleased because I found I was looking so cute. So I had to go back upstairs. If I was planning to go to that bazaar, I had to go upstairs and change my clothes to something more modest in order for my father to approve for me to go out, to go out to that school fair. And I think that was important because sometimes I wonder if maybe one of the reasons we women are dressing like that these days, maybe fathers are not present. Number two, fathers are not involved in our lives. Or three, maybe our fathers think, maybe they feel like they are not um they're disappointing us in some way, or have disappointed us in some way, that they feel they have no voice in our lives to give us input, even in how we carry about ourselves. So I think the absence of proper fathers, maybe that has caused a lot more women to dress in ways that will not guard them. So I think my father was trying to guard me at that point in time because he knew how men behave and how men think, and he wanted me to be respected by other men. So I'm so grateful for my father. And my father is not religious at all, and he still isn't. So for those of you all thinking, she might have a very religious father, that was not the case. He was just a normal man wanting to protect his pretty little teenage daughter, his precious daughter, me. All right. So, so as I got older and I began to grow my walk with the Lord, I no longer felt comfortable wearing those short skirts to church. And even as a missionary, I remember a time I was, I was young, and I went to our staff party in a very fitted leather outfit. And I think I felt uncomfortable there, and I never wore it thereafter. But I was like, Kimberly, what were you thinking? So I have come a long way. But you see, these things, as you grow in your walk with the Lord and you're open to Him, you begin to change. You begin to change. I was even reading up on this. And when Adam and Eve sinned, then they realized that they were naked and ashamed. And The first thing that God did when he came into the garden and he was asking for them, he he first wanted a relationship with them, and then he clothed them with his own garments. And so Adam and Eve put on like fig leaf aprons to cover their private parts, but then they still felt ashamed because when God was asking for them, they still were hiding. And then um so when Adam and so at the end, when God was talking, God gave them garments, and based on what I was reading, apparently those garments cover them from neck to um, past their legs. So that's the covering that God gave them out of animal skin. So God proper cover them proper. All right. So remember that I don't want to just go around judging other persons, especially if someone is a very, very young believer or someone who is just like a recent convert. The first thing is to help them to grow in your walk with Lord. First of all, to help them to come to Christ. And then the second option, the second thing you want to focus on is growing in your walk with the Lord. And hopefully, if they are growing in their walk with the Lord and they are going into God's word, and God would is changing them from inside out, they would embrace certain mindsets, and hopefully other women will come into their lives who will teach them about biblical modesty. And biblical modesty is not only about what you wear outwardly, but it really is a matter of the heart. If you are growing in your walk with the Lord, if the Lord is king of your life, he's the Lord of your life, you will necessarily want to please him, and even pleasing by the way you dress. All right. So early in my 20s, I remember I heard this phrase, dress how you want to be addressed, because people are making, when you dress, the way you dress will, the way you dress communicates. Every single one of us, our dress code communicates something about us. We make constant judgments when we see people. If you see someone dressing in a police wear, you know that it communicates that person is a part of the protective services. All right. If you see a woman in a nursing attire, it communicates that woman is in the medic. She's a nurse and she's in the medical profession. Okay. If you see someone dressed in like high quality, like a suit, and you see the kind of watch they wear and the kind of jewelry they have on, you could discern that this person probably has money. And even the way you dress as a woman, it will communicate your values, your attitudes, and even your character. So when a man looks at you, when you go for a job interview, the way you dress, it is speaking volumes about who you are and what your beliefs are. Okay? So I don't want you to be naive and think about you can dress whichever way you wish and think that God will love you regardless. But you do yourself a great service if you seek to dress in a way that is more modest, and that could only happen truly if you are growing in your walk with the Lord. Because modesty is, I was reading more about it here, modesty is the way we walk, the way we talk, the way we act, the way we use our eyes, and the way we engage with other people. And I got this from reviveourhearts.com. And I totally agree, because you can see a woman, you might think that she is dressing modestly, everything is well covered, but she may be a woman that you cannot trust around your husband. All right? Or the way she talks, totally impure. All right? And that is not a modest woman, although outwardly it may look like she might be modest. So modesty is really a matter of a heart, and it is communicated in the way we carry ourselves, not only by the clothing we wear. All right? So like in Proverbs 7:10, it says, then out came a woman to meet him, dressed like a prostitute with a crafty intent. So a woman could look like a prostitute. And I think more and more of us women, we seem to be moving in that direction. And I don't know, but I know why. It's the values of the world. But I want you women to realize that you are a gem, you are a treasure, and I want you to value yourself and then choose your wardrobe very carefully. Choose how you speak. Change the way you speak. Change the way how you relate to men so that people can see that you are a woman who knows God, who loves God, and they want to know the God that you know and you love. Okay? So I think the way that what changed me is Jesus became more and more the Lord of my life. And then I began to care for the men that I would meet. I really began to understand the way men think and some of their weaknesses as a man. And I began to change the way I dress because I loved my fellow men. I love my brothers in Christ or even men who are not even believers. And the way that I dress, I know it will evoke respect or disrespect from men. And that my clothing and the way I carried myself shall let the outside world be curious that to know that I am different and that I am attracting persons to the Christ within me. That became more and more my motivation. So when a person hears that I'm a Christian, they should be like, wow, I would have never guessed. But it should be a confirmation. Oh, that's why she carries herself in that way. Yeah, it makes sense that she definitely is a Christian woman. And that is the kind of reaction that I want persons to have. Okay. And I also, because I'm a married woman, I want to represent my husband well. And I want persons to respect my husband because of the way I carry myself as well. Okay. So, how, does a woman's dress code play an important part in her life? Most definitely. It affects every single area of your life. It affects how you're treated by your own relatives. It affects the way men treat you, how your boss and your co-workers will treat you, and even how other women will treat you. Okay? Like if a woman just like a prostitute, I don't necessarily want a woman like that around my husband. Me? No way. As Jamaicans will say, no, sir. All right. So, um, a lot more could be said about this topic, but I'll leave it here for now. And I want you to go into God's word and find out the gem that you are. And I hope and pray that this will change the way you talk, the way you dress, the way you walk, the way you just the way you communicate with all that God has given you. Because how you dress reflects your values, your attitudes, your beliefs, your character, everything about you. So don't just think that dressing has no consequence whatsoever. People make judgments about you, and we make judgments about other people the way they dress. All right. So, in summary, you are sending a message with your clothing, whether you mean to or not. And if you're a young believer, I don't want you to be stressed out about it. Just continue to grow in your walk with the Lord. Maybe ask for advice. Ask for advice from the fathers in your life, and not your fathers, your father or your father figure. And I think a decent man will give you good advice about modesty. I take his advice because he wants to protect you from harm, and he wants other men to treat you well, to treat you with respect and honor as you deserve. Okay. The last question is, um, Celicia asked this question: after trauma, what is the right way to go about being single? So I didn't really have context by what she meant by trauma, but I am just thinking that she's probably considering maybe trauma from a bad breakup. So after a bad breakup, the right way to go about being single is to do the following. One, focus on healing for the next 6 months at least. You need time before you get emotionally attached to another person. You need to give yourself some breathing space, a break from romantic relationships, just for a short season, at least 6 months. Give yourself that opportunity to just breathe and to grow and to find back yourself. And if it was a bad breakup, you need time to heal. You kind of just rush into another relationship. I know that if somebody, maybe like a few months after you meet someone and the emotions are high and you're feeling in love, and you can just get carried away and you feel like, okay, it just numbs the pain and you just go to another relationship. No, that's not wise, right? So give yourself a little break, at least 6 months from another romantic relationship if you've had a traumatic experience in recent past. And the second thing I would recommend is going for counseling if you can afford it, or even spend time with, not everybody could afford a counselor. Maybe your church might have free ones. If you have that option, take advantage of it. But if you don't, then you just maybe need some good friends to share your journey with, to share your emotions, to just debrief, and someone to pray you through and to give you proper advice and just to point you in the right direction as you move forward. Okay? Who will ask you the right questions, who will give you a good listening ear, and as I said, who will pray you through this season, this difficult season. Okay? So you need to be able to debrief and really talk about this before you go into another relationship. The third thing is focus on building your intimacy with God so that God can heal your heart deep within. Because only God can reach down at the place deep, deep, deep within so that He can heal. Okay, there's so much that you will know in your own consciousness, and there's so much that another person might know from what you tell them or from what they can discern themselves. But God knows you inside out, and He's the one who can heal you in ways that you never even thought you needed healing. All right. And the fourth reason, because I'm just thinking that sometimes um, you might end up being or choosing someone who is not good for you because you have unhealed areas in your life from childhood or from another past relationship, from something that someone said, a parent or a sibling that hurts you deep within. And that if you're not healed, then you could end up choosing a toxic guy over and over again, a type of guy over and over again, because there's some deep places in your life that need to be healed. And God is the one who can help you to heal deeply. Okay. And the fourth advice I would give you is don't isolate yourself. During this time, it is crucial that you're around people who know you and who love you. Okay. So don't isolate your time. If you have just had a traumatic season of life that you're now coming out of, you need to be around people, because at the end of the day, we need love. We need the love from God, and we need love from other human beings in order for us to be strong and healthy emotionally, mentally, and every single area of our lives. Okay, so I think that is it for this afternoon. Thank you so much, and for those who will view in the future, thank you so much. And that's it. And for those who will be joining me on the relationship coaching program for the next 6 to 7 months. I am so excited, and I'll see you on Wednesday on Zoom. You already have the link. So you all take care. Bye bye. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.